Namaste, everyone. Welcome to the Pranic Healing Podcast. On this episode, we have Alison Sahoo, who holds a Bachelor's of Science in Physics and has a Master's in Business Administration. Since early 2020, her Pranic Healing Pod of Healers has helped more than 550 people from all around the world recover faster and easier from a wide range of physical and emotional illnesses. Please welcome Allison. Hi, Allison.
Thank you,
How's it
Jason.
going?
Good. It is a pleasure to be here.
And it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast finally. Allison is one of, I would say, the most active and diligent and hardworking members of the pranic healing community in our Northeast here. And I'm so happy and grateful to have you. And, I gave you a little short intro, your bio, but for our audience out there, Allison, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and things of that nature?
Yep. Well, starting with when I found pranic healing about 10 years ago. Before pranic healing, I was sort of a normal person out there in the world. But that changed at the end of 2013 when I went to a healing expo and there was a pranic healer talking about pranic healing. And it happened to be a time in my life when one of my family members was in crisis. So I was really looking for something that could help. And as you said, I was coming into this with a bachelor's in physics and an MBA, a real mainstream kind of a life. But when she said that pranic healing was easy to learn and you didn't need to have any particular intuitive gifts, I was intuitive to an extent, but not very sensitive the way some people are. I thought, all right, maybe this could help. Let me try this. And since then, I have been doing more and more and more with pranic healing, particularly when COVID started. So yeah, we have a pretty active group here in Pennsylvania now.
Yeah, and that's your area, right? Um, and for those out there, what specific area of Pennsylvania again, Allison?
We are in Bucks County, which is right on the border of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. But we do a lot on Zoom, which means we get people really from all over the world. Certainly a lot from our local area, but also from the surrounding states and even from other countries.
Awesome. Well, I'm so happy to hear that you discovered pranic healing, and I think that your journey is a lot of people's journey coming into pranic healing, where we've come from more of that traditional background, and I liked how you said like a normal person, right? A lot of times the stigma is like if you're into spirituality, if you're into energy healing, you have to be some like woo woo gypsy that's traveled around the world and done weird things. But honestly, we're normal people, and we, being a little bit more analytical, maybe a little bit more left brained, right? Especially with your bachelor's in physics and MBA, right? Very analytical. I think that pranic healing really offers the best of both worlds. It's so simple and so effective, to your point, and that's what I want to get to talk about today. Because today we're going to talk about sort of group work and how that really affects not only yourself, being the one that is leading the group, but for the group members and the group as a whole. So if we can start there, with the context of pranic healing. So what is, of course, what is pranic healing, and then how does group work in pranic healing seem to amplify the benefits?
Yeah. So pranic healing is a very systematic way of working with the energy body, with the chakras, to help the body heal faster and easier from pretty much any physical condition, emotional disease, mental illness. And that was what appealed to me initially about pranic healing, that it was a very step-by-step system. That said, once you learn the basic techniques, there's plenty of room for creativity. So it is a wonderful way to marry the left and the right brain processes. Um, the group work for us started kind of by accident with COVID. Before 2020, I had been doing healing. I'd been working on friends and family. I had a website. I was going into some local centers and doing healing on the people who came in. A friend of mine, another pranic healer, and I had started a meditation and healing night the year before, and that was going pretty well. But with lockdown, everything changed. And in addition to doing more meditation and healing nights and moving all of our stuff on Zoom, Master Glenn Mendoza, Dr. Mendoza, started this project called Project Hope for Healing for pranic healers to work in groups, in pods, on COVID patients, on people who were very ill from COVID. And that was what changed everything for our group. It was when we started working on cases together, and together meaning 5 or 6 people, as many as this morning we had 10 in our group,
Wow,
and all working together on
that's
patients.
amazing. Even till the you said this morning, today. Wow,
We're
that's
still
impressive.
going strong. We
Still
meet
going
five
strong,
times a week.
and yeah, yeah, and I wanted to kind of bring it back because I wanted to highlight something important, Allison, just to make it clear for our audience, right? In chronic healing, most of the healings done are one-on-one, like how most of us start out, right? You take the chronic healing class, you learn to work on other people, like yourself. It's usually one-on-one, but like you mentioned with COVID and the pandemic, it really brought an opportunity to come together, although virtually, right? But virtually, which is the same as energetically, right? Energy's all the same, whether in person or virtually, and work on these very sick patients all around the world and have successful results, right? We were all documenting these cases. I'm sure that must have been quite a journey for you because you were leading the pod, right, this whole time, and of course up till today. So I wanted to ask you, like, what was your experience like, just kind of seeing that from the driver's seat, leading the group, and what changes did you notice throughout that time?
Yeah, it's been phenomenal, and that's why we're still doing it, and that's why I'm still doing it. Even though lockdown is long past, our group is still going because we've all gotten so much out of it. Um, it's been a tremendous learning experience, and it's been really quite fascinating to see what it's like to work with other people, because different people experience energy, the energy that we use while healing, differently. Some people feel it very physically. Other people feel it more intuitively. They get impressions. Some people receive information. And when you're working with other healers together and when you're all sharing your experiences, you learn a lot. You learn much faster than if you're working on your own.
Yeah, I like to tell people, when you're, especially when you're like, especially, with your master's in business administration, right? When you have, a team of employees, right? It's not about one is better than another. Like you each complement to a component of the team. And I think that's what I find, especially in my time with the pods as well. And it sounds like your experience. Some people are more analytical, some people are more intuitive, but at the end, when you do this group work, it's almost like a molding or gelling or merging of the healing together as a group. And it seems like the results are amplified more, right? Because we talk about group meditation, right? So I wanted you to kind of speak on that because it's different when you do, of course, group healing versus one-on-one healing. And I wanted to ask you to connect to that in terms of group meditation versus meditating on your own, because I think there's some similarities on both cases, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. When you meditate with a group, the energy is much more powerful because you've got more people and the energy is flowing through each of those people. There's a group energy that forms when you meditate together. People have more powerful experiences, they go deeper. Same thing happens when you heal. When you heal and everybody there is moving the energy, they're sharing information, we're all kind of focused, even though we're all healing different people, we're all kind of focused together. You know, our yeah,
Intention, yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a
yeah, the
great point
intention.
because I just wanted to clarify this for the audience because some people that are not in pranic healing and do not know what energy healing is or have no experience with receiving energy healing or doing this type of work. How can you describe it to them, Allison, in terms of what it means to one have a healing and two to have a healing done by a group of prana healers on yourself? Like, what does that mean and what does that look like for like the average person?
Yeah, that is a great question. And a lot of people who are brand new to energy healing, um, that's what they want to know. Well, what is this going to be like? Is it going to be, very different? Is it going to be uncomfortable in any way? What's going to happen? Uh, for the vast majority of people, it's just such a pleasant, relaxing experience. Whether they are present in the same room with the healer, whether the healing is happening at a distance. And of course, when our group of healers meets together on Zoom, all the healings are at a distance. Um, Most people just feel very relaxed. Um, Usually, when they have some type of discomfort, the discomfort lessens. If they have pain, if they have some type of physical symptoms, there's usually some type of an improvement shortly after the healing. Sometimes it's immediate. We've had healings where the person immediately improved. More often, there can be a lag of an hour, 2 hours, something like that. It just depends. People are different. But so there's the relaxing experience, and then there's the improvement of whatever problem we're working on for them.
And it's amazing, like you said. I mean, there is that spectrum of time that's involved with the healing. Some people get improvements right away. Some people take a little bit of time. And that's just the concept that energy, what I like to tell people, you have a physical metabolism, you eat food and it takes some time to digest and absorb in your body. Same thing with the energy body. Right? When you get a healing, there's almost every person has their own like energy metabolism. It takes some time for it to be absorbed and assimilated to the physical body for those benefits. So thank you for explaining that because I know again, like you said, it's a very common question, right? You feel relaxed, of course, and then you get the benefits later, and sometimes sooner than later, especially in group work and things like that. And I know you touched upon group meditation as well, and that's something I wanted to talk about because during the pandemic, you mentioned Master Glenn Mendoza. He led the healing pods, but he also led the weekly global meditations, right? Twin Hearts meditations, and that can be also very healing as well. In addition to going back to the concept that we're talking about, when you're doing group meditation, things also tend to amplify, right? Um, Everyone in the group is like a magnifier. It just we amplify each other's energy. So I know you were also a very big participant in that. So talk to us about that and how that you know group meditation on a weekly basis helped your healing pod, but also helped your patients because I'm sure we've advertised and told our patients, hey, go on the weekly meditation, experience the energy together as a group.
Yeah, a lot of people found pranic healing through those meditations. Pranic healers referred their clients to those meditations. Um, Pranic healers attended themselves. Yeah, hundreds of people went and still do go on the Wednesday nights. Um, it's phenomenal when you see people from all around the world. Some of them speaking other languages, they're translators. right? Usually there are 3 or 4 translators. You really understand that these people all around the world are connected through this web of energy. And when you look at everyone's faces and you see how plugged in they are, and you can see the emotions on some people's faces as well. You can see after the meditation, the experience that they had. And people will often share, sometimes they'll put questions in the Zoom chat, sometimes they'll ask questions. People have very profound experiences on those group meditations. Yeah, and that's why they keep going.
Yeah, and you're right. It's still going on till this day. And it's just a reflection of how, when you come together as a group, it's almost like a snowball effect, right? And it's been continuing since, and it really helps anchor and ground the energy as well for us, right? To continue to do the healing, to continue to spread the teachings, like you're doing and leading these classes, leading meditations, leading the healing pods, which is in some sense it's important too to be making sure that we're healthy, right? Because we're the ones moving the work. So yeah, that's amazing, and thank you for reminding me that, because yeah, I forget there were so many great testimonials from those weekly global
Yeah,
meditations, and
yeah.
all those translators that we've had. So many people, different parts of the world connecting. It was really a special opportunity that's continuing since. Um, and I wanted to kind of move on to the next part of our conversation, Allison. I know that you started pranic healing. And it's been what, over a decade now. It seems like, right? And throughout your journey, I know you've probably seen a lot, right? And I wanted to ask you, if someone was just coming off the street and they're like, "Hey, I don't know what pranic healing is. I've heard about it. What's the one advice or tip or suggestion you would tell them related to pranic healing in terms of
Try it.
that question?" Yeah.
Just try it.
Mm.
Just try it. It's every time you have a conversation with someone who's new to it, there are questions that come up, and some people really, they just really want to try to explain everything. They want all the answers, first. Other people are like, oh, just do it. Just do it. Give me everything you got, kind of thing. So people are different, right? People are different in how they approach new things. And I think a lot of it also depends upon where people are at in terms of what they're looking for. When I found pranic healing, I had a pretty big need. I was pretty desperate. I had tried other things, and the conventional healthcare system had just failed. So when you're in that mindset, you are more willing to consider things outside of your frame of reference. And it does require a leap for people who haven't grown up sort of seeing things, with those heightened senses. For people who don't come from a background where they've received these trainings and teachings, it does require an intellectual leap. However, it is always worth it. It is always worth it.
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying, Allison, and I resonate deeply with that because, I think I was the person that wanted to know about all the answers and all the technicalities, right? And like just just to make sure, like, is this actually real? Is this, I'm making things up in my head, right? Is this placebo? But yeah, I love what you said. Just try it, just experience it. And I was like all of us, just a normal person trying to look for an alternative compared to traditional medical care system that you mentioned, right? Chronic healing is a complement to the traditional medical care system, but sometimes it's just it's just like that last pin that's needed to be pulled, and chronic healing is one of that tool that does the trick. um, so I'm so happy that you mentioned that, because I think that really clarifies to a lot of our audience just out there listening. especially about listening and hearing about energy work and for the first time and what is that like. But the best testimonials are always when you can hear from someone else that's gone through it and then doing it yourself, right? And then
Yeah,
saying for
for
yourself.
sure. And I love hearing stories. I um I solicit stories, when I meet
Yes.
other pranic healers at, the retreats and the conferences and things. I really love hearing. One of the things I'll say, is what brought you to pranic healing? What got you here? What's your story? Because I really love hearing about people's experiences. And I have heard so many stories of big healings.
Mhm.
Healings for family members, healings for friends, healings for strangers, that you get to a point where you say, okay, there's something here. There's something here.
It's not like it's not random. It's not like the lottery. It's consistent. There's a pattern. People are getting results. So and that's the best testimonials. Just very quickly, what's I know you have so many on your list. What's like one of your favorite testimonials that comes to mind when you think of chronic healing?
Favorite testimonial. Wow. I mean, I've
There's so many. I know.
there are, yeah, there truly are so many. I've worked on people who did not know they were receiving healing for various reasons, right? For various reasons. I mean, I've had paying clients. We've had clients in the pod who've requested healing. I've had friends who've asked for healings, but I've also had some cases where, someone had a real dire need and the person was important to me, and there were various reasons why, I couldn't tell them. And I've seen massive changes, massive changes. I mean, people with addictions who turned their lives around. And when you see that, and in a way, that's sort of a very good test of if this is working. Because if someone does not know that they're receiving healing and they still have an improvement, you know that it's not, they're
It's not
not
in their
just telling
head,
you what you
right?
want to
It's not
hear. They're
placebo,
not
right?
right. It's like a perfect
Yeah,
test.
and that's such a great topic that is deserves its whole own episode, right? How does how does receiving energy healing or pranic healing work if the person doesn't even know about it? I feel like that's such an amazing episode that we could talk, an hour long for. But yeah, that's amazing, Allison. Thank you for bringing that up. That's gonna be on my mind now. Just like, oh yeah, the best healings are the ones that you don't even know that you were receiving it, right? And that's why we, and Master Glenn Mendoza, who's a master pranic healer, like, he says, gratitude, right? Always be grateful because you never know what your blessings are, what you think your blessings are, and the blessings that aren't even aware to you, right? Aware to your consciousness, right? So I think that's a great reminder. Thank you for sharing that testimonial. Um, all right. So, and Allison, for those out there who want to connect to your group and to your meditations, where can they find you?
Yep. So we are all over the place. If you type Chronic Healing Bucks County into Google, we have a website, we have a Facebook group, we're on Meetup, we have a YouTube channel, we're on Alignable. Chronic Healing Bucks County will will get us to you. Will get you to
Awesome.
us.
And what I'll do is I'll link the to the show notes, all those links, so the people watching this online can also have direct access to it as well. We'll share that with everyone. All
Awesome.
right. Well, thank you so much, Allison. This was such a lovely and wonderful conversation. And again, I look up to you as a role model for all the leadership work and continuing your healing pod even till today, this morning. And it sounds like you still have an amazing and strong group in its numbers, and the success you've had with all the people around the world in terms of the healing cases. So thank you for all of your work, and I really admire it, and especially for the conversation we had today about group work, group energy, right? Group meditation. So important. I think moving forward in the future, um, that's going to be even more important, right? as we integrate a lot of these different teachings and learnings and technologies as humanity continues to grow and evolve. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, and thank you to Allison. Atma Namaste, and we hope to see you in the next podcast. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jason. Thank you so much.